Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel that is Science Unlocked, and in this part of the module of the chapter Forest and Wildlife we will be looking into the details of wildlife. Now when we talk about wildlife, it is actually the plants and animals including birds who are living in a particular natural habitat, that is forests. Now when we talk about the variety and diversity of this particular category of living organisms, we will find that there are ample number of species that we can quote over here, which plays an important role in balancing the food chain of the nature. Now there are multiple ways with which we have established our own set of wildlife also, like when we talk about Sundarbans in West Bengal and Kaziranga National Park, Jim Corbett, then Gir National Park in India. So all these places that I have quoted over here are specifically to India. So over here we will going to find out that we have tried to take care of the wildlife and provide them a safer uh, place so that they can survive easily. Now what is the reason behind that? The reason behind that is that we have been talking about in the previous module also, that because the forests are getting depleted on day-to-day basis, so it becomes a problematic scenario for the wildlife to sustain itself. So that is one reason that we have started coming up with the scenario of developing the natural um, or maybe sometimes artificial habitat for the wildlife, animals as well as birds. Now the reason behind the decreasing number of wildlife is the excessive hunting and deforestation. So deforestation we have been discussing in the previous module also. Excessive hunting, when the uh, animal goods that are required by the increasing population are to be taken care of, then it plays an important role with reference to the decreasing number of wildlife animals. So how we can change this? By creating the awareness. And how the awareness will be done? With the help of government and with the help of our involvement in the preservation process or conservation process of the wildlife. Now for doing this particular work, what the government has done is that it has come up with the concept of wildlife sanctuaries and national park, where they will going to protect the animals, but obviously keeping a little bit of the concept in the wildlife in certain consideration. For example, when we talk about the wildlife sanctuary, these are actually the region where the aim is to provide a particular safe place so that the animals can live and breed, whereas in case of national park, it is not only to provide them safe place but also to protect them altogether. And when we talk about the ownership, with reference to ownership, it is, in case of wildlife, it is going to be either government or private ownership, whereas in case of national park, it will be fully controlled and held by government. Now when we talk about the restrictions, in case of wildlife sanctuaries, the comparative restrictions are fewer. It is available for public, but when it comes to national park, you need to take special permissions. And when we talk about boundaries of these particular locations, in case of wildlife sanctuary, the boundaries will not be well defined, but in case of national park, it will be. So we have to take care of that as well. And because the national park has more and more restrictions, there will not be any kind of human activities allowed over there, but in case of wildlife sanctuary, the human activity will be allowed, but obviously at a limited extent. Now obviously we are talking about the conservation of wildlife, so what are the other ways with which we can do so? We can make the people aware with the help of media by celebrating specific wildlife conservation oriented weeks and days in different countries as well as in world. On the other hand, there can be certain specific projects that can be run over here, just like being run by IUCN for the conservation of a specific set of animal. Now when talked about IUCN, I would like to put a particular I would like to bring to your notice the concept that is IUCN is actually the organization which helps in categorization of animals into different categories. For example, vulnerable species, the species which if are not provided with proper care, proper safe environment to live and breed, they will going to come under the category of endangered species, means the condition where there will going to be less number of plants and animals available, and eventually if they are not protected properly, if they are not um, like taken care of properly, not only in terms of breeding and living but also in terms of protection from hunting, then they will going to totally get extinct from the nature. And extinction simply means that complete removal of a particular animal or plant, means something will going to get completely away from the world and nature. So this categorization helps us in planning of the conservation process, whereas wherein if a particular species belongs to endangered species, then we can provide that particular species a specific set of species oriented process, and phenomena can be involved, processes can be involved over here, but obviously things are to be the action are to be decided properly, they will have to be worked upon properly and executed properly, so that we can reach to the maximum form of conservation. Now with this we have completed this particular chapter and this particular module of class 5. So rest we will going to take up in next session. So till then, take care and keep learning.